Welcome back to the channel. This is just a very quick video to discuss what's happening down at Norton Motorcycles. Recently in Motorcycle News, they said that there's going to be a shift in how they go about the bikes that they're selling and the categories that they're selling into. Essentially, and I'll read straight from the articles, so I won't paraphrase exactly as said from the CEO. I think a lot of people expect us to sort of keep making replicas of bikes from the 1950s and 60s. That is not the path we're going down on its own. And I want to discuss if that's the right thing for Norton. Bearing in mind their history, bearing in mind their customer base and what their customer expectations is. Norton are owned by TVS, have been ever since they took over after Stuart Garner nearly run them into the ground and stole everyone's money. And in that short time that they've been running them, for about 3 or 4 years, they've been doing the Commando for a couple of years. They took the old model, made some much needed improvements from a liability front, then introduced it so people could buy that, and that gave them a bit of a window to get on top of. They've built the factory up in the Midlands, and undoubtedly looking at what models they can make in future, either there or somewhere else or in India. And they say in this article, and it's well worth a read actually, that some of the bikes won't just be made here, they will be made abroad as well. TVS already have a partnership with BMW, so it's very likely that they'll share the same platform engine as them, but branded obviously as a Norton, but probably with a different tank and frame maybe, etc. They do say that all the new lines, and there's going to be 6 introduced later in the year, between later in the year and next year, be above 310cc. See, that doesn't give any real idea as to what they're going to be. We know one will be a V4 because that's been seen as a prototype on the road, but it looks like it could be the end of the Commando, which is understandable because they need to move on at some point. And it reminds me of when Triumph came back. So you had the Triumph that kind of went on and staggered through the 70s and then a little bit into the 80s, and then they went under, and then they were bought out by, or the ownership of the name, etc., was who owns it now. And for a small window, Harris built some Bonnevilles for them, which gave them just enough time to keep the Triumph name still ticking over while they re-established themselves, designed new models, new factories, sorted out all the logistics, and all of that stuff which is often overlooked by the public but really takes a long time to get right. And then they come back with new models, but they stopped the Bonneville. The Bonneville didn't come back until about 2001 with the 790cc. But Triumph still did retro bikes. They still did it was called the Thunderbird, it's retro, and there was another one that the name escapes me, like a cruisery style, but it still had that Bonneville style look, but it was a liquid cooled 3-cylinder, lovely bike. And that kept the fan base that was more used to that style of motorcycle, kept them still engaged, still kept them interested, still kept them desiring that traditional Triumph. And I think that's what Norton have to be careful of, because most people, I would say about 5 to 10 years younger than me, won't have that link to Norton of their parents might have rode, like I do, like what my dad rode. That's kind of gone, and I'm already 40, so that younger generation won't think of Norton as anything other than a name they don't know. So coming in with a Commando has allowed that younger generation to see that's what Norton looked like, that's what Norton kind of stood for, that great style. Losing that and then just trying to be a brand on its own, I don't know if it has the legs to just be a brand on its own, especially as they're so expensive. I mean, maybe these new ones won't be. We don't know at this stage. I can't see it really working. And I'm hoping I'm wrong, because I really would love to see Norton thrive, especially if they've been up and down since my whole time watching them. The first race I watched at Brands Hatch was the rotary Norton, ridden by Ron Aslam. I sat on it on a stand, and obviously even at that young age, Dad had said, oh yeah, I had a Norton, so instantly Norton was my brand to follow. So I'd love to see them succeed. I'm just not sure this is the way to go. They have to do something, because the Commando can't go on forever, not in its current state, because it can only be sold in the UK, because it has to be registered under a special subcategory, as essentially as like special builds, so it doesn't have to follow some of the like the Euro 4 or Euro 5, whichever number we're up to these days, because it can't meet that. So it has to be specially registered, and that's a problem. That's not sustainable as a business. So they have to do something. It's just, what do they do? If it was me, obviously I'm no businessman, so these people know more than me. I would carry on, you know, I would go down the V4 route, and the more affordable, maybe a 450 twin, maybe a 400 single, whatever. But I would still have a 750, 850, 900, whatever, retro twin that can compete against your Bonnevilles, against your Moto Guzzi V7s, against the BMW R9T, which kind of the Commando kind of is that. But even if they means having to shelve the Commando for a couple of years or keep going this kind of drip feed of what they're currently doing with the Commando and the special register, knowing that another one's coming later. One bike I'd love to see them do, and it obviously it's from the previous ownership, the Atlas, that 650 that they teased very briefly, looked amazing. I don't know what happened to the rights of that, of all the drawings, etc. But if that's still kicking around, that looked a brilliant bike, and Stuart Garner didn't do much good, but these guys that obviously worked for him that designed that did a good job, and that would sell. I've seen many people online say that would sell. So you never know, maybe they'll do something like that, but maybe it'll just be based on one of the TVS engines, which would likely be a smaller CC, but we'll see. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you think they're going in the right direction, or whether this will be beginning of the end, which I have seen people write online. Fingers crossed for Norton, because I would like to see them succeed. I will see you on the next one. Give the channel a like and subscribe. And yeah, ride safe.